Hi guys. Okay, in just 5 days from today, we have a massive transit happening that's going to impact us for 19 years, and we have to talk about it. I actually created an entire slideshow for you, so you're welcome. It did take a while, but I'm really excited to talk about it. And as I'm like realizing I just finished this, I didn't even look at the actual chart, but we'll talk about this first, and then if we have time, maybe I'll go and look at the actual chart of what is happening. But this is really critical stuff, so I'm excited to talk about it with you. This is shocking revolutions. Pluto is entering Aquarius for the final time on November 19th. Now, Pluto has been kind of dancing back and forth between Capricorn and Aquarius for like 2 years now. 6 months here, 6 months there, a couple weeks here, a couple weeks there, and it's ending right now. This is the last week that Pluto will be in Capricorn for over 200 years, okay? We are tying up the loose ends of Pluto in Capricorn, and we can see it in what's playing out right now politically and in other ways, and we're going to talk about it. But I wanted to bring it to your attention because we have to buckle up. We're heading into a time that no one has seen in hundreds of years, and the last time around was a little bit of a mess. And that has been true every time that Pluto has been in Aquarius. We're going to talk about it. But Pluto is entering Aquarius at 3:40 p.m. Eastern Time on November 19th of 2024, and it will be there until March 8th of 2043. Okay, 20 years. It's going to be like 19 years. Okay, this is a long time. And this is the Pluto placement for the French Revolution. So we are heading into absolutely revolutionary territory in a way that has never been seen before, even though Pluto has been in Aquarius many times in the past. Uh, it has never been in Aquarius the way that it's going to be this time, just because Aquarius governs technology, and we have never had the kinds of technologies that we have now. We are in a really interesting time, and I think this is going to be some really interesting stuff. So we've got to talk about it. We need to understand the major players here. We got to understand Pluto. We got to understand Aquarius. So Pluto is, I mean, in Greek, it's Hades. My kids and I just watched Disney's Hercules last night. I love that movie. Um, we're dealing with Pluto slash Hades, okay? The god of death, the god of the underworld, the god of transformation. So let's talk about some Plutonian themes that we're going to see. I mean, Pluto is always somewhere in a chart, and right now Pluto has been in Capricorn since 2008. And we've been seeing a lot of death and transformation in the areas of Capricorn, which I have in a future slide. But wherever Pluto is in the chart, we've got deep power, okay? This is a powerful, powerful energy that runs really deep. Pluto cuts away what is dead for new life to emerge. It's a death and rebirth energy. It kills the old stuff and allows the new stuff to be born. In that way, it's kind of a Christ energy. It's a resurrection energy. In its way, it is a symbol to me of Jesus Christ willingly going to his death, knowing that on the other side there was a resurrection that is going to be better, that's going to be more powerful. I mean, this is Christ on the cross is Christ giving up life on earth, knowing that life on heaven, life as God, is going to be so much more, and doing it in a really sacrificial way. I think that Pluto can have an element of self-sacrifice if we choose into it. It can be an element of true selfishness. It can be an element of sacrifice, and it just depends on what we are bringing to the situation. But as we talk about this, I just want to mention that there is a little bit of a Christ energy here. If you are a Christian, this is a lens that you can look at this through as well and find a lot of rich symbolism. Now, because Pluto is the god of the underworld, it also governs money to some extent in a different way than Venus does. Venus, the planet, deals with the money that you receive and like stuff that you're given. Like you just show up, people pay you, and that's like Venus energy. Pluto is the energy of money that you dig for. Okay, it's the treasure under the surface. It's when you actually dig in your shovel and you're digging to the underworld. You're mining in an actual cave. You are digging into the earth itself and finding the treasure there that might be mixed in with the dirt and the ugly stuff and maybe the bugs and the yucky things. You're digging and finding the treasure that's hidden underneath other things, okay? Wherever Pluto is, we get to ask ourselves, what is the hidden treasure there for me? What kind of crap do I have to go through to find the treasure at the other end? Okay, the light at the end of the tunnel. Pluto deals with hidden things, okay? The stuff that happens in private. Sex, death, genetics, like the hidden codes that make us who we are that no one can see with their naked eye, but they are still very powerful. Secrets of all kinds, skeletons in the closet, taboos, stigmatized things, the stuff that people don't want to talk about. If it makes people uncomfortable, Pluto is got a hand in it, okay? Wherever Pluto is, there is a depth and often a heaviness in that area of the chart. Like in your personal chart, wherever Pluto is, you probably feel like, it weighs on you. It can make you feel like you're dying a lot of times. Like where my Pluto is, I often feel like, oh, it's kicking my trash, you know? It's a call to transform. Where Pluto is, it forces you to go deeper into whatever is going on in your life where it is. And it kind of comes back to this idea of depression. Okay, depression, like we think of it as like sadness and those deep feelings, but like if you have a piece of dirt and you step on it, your foot makes a depression in the soil. And what a depression is literally a depth. Where Pluto is, it causes a depression and we have to dig even deeper. You go deeper, deeper, deeper into those feelings. You feel them all the way. You open yourself up to the depth of those feelings, and that is what transforms you and transforms those feelings. That's how you get out of depression. You have to feel all the way. Pluto helps us do that. In a natal chart, if you have somebody that deals with a lot of depression, you look for that. You look for um, where that Pluto is and how it's interacting with their chart. And that is a call to go deeper, feel that depression even harder, feel that despair even harder, get to the bottom of it and open yourself up through those feelings so that you can actually transform yourself in a serious way. Now, Pluto is a generational influence because Pluto is where it is for decades at a time. Entire generations feel the weight of Pluto in that area of their chart because Pluto will be there for 10 years, 20 years at a time. Like everyone that is being born after November 19th this year, for the next 20 years, they're going to have Pluto in Aquarius for their entire lives, and that's going to influence how they show up. Okay, so my generation had Pluto in Scorpio. The generation after us had Pluto in Sagittarius. A lot of our boomer friends have Pluto in Virgo, for example. And all of us carry these energies with us through our entire lives. So like when you're dealing with like a political situation right now in Congress, you're dealing with a bunch of people from these different generations that all have their own Pluto carrying the echoes of when they were born, and these concerns and these ways of thinking about the world all are still present. Like every generation is dealing with several other generations of Pluto energies, and it kind of creates these different situations that we find ourselves in. We got to talk about Pluto returns for a minute. Pluto is on a 244-year cycle. I've done a lot of videos about the Pluto return for the United States. Go search Ali Does That Pluto return. You'll get a bunch of stuff coming up. But it always means when Pluto goes back to where it was when a nation was founded, we're looking at big fundamental shifts in the functioning of society. And we just had our Pluto return in like 2021, 2022, like in the heights of COVID, in the heights of the aftermath of COVID, as everybody was still like figuring out everything. And what a way for that 244-year period to go out with a bang. And we're not done with it, right? Like we are still living in the post-COVID world. We have seen some massive shifts that took place during that time. And we had our Pluto return. When a Pluto return happens, we don't expect a massive event on that date. What we expect is 12 years where things are slowly and then quickly restructuring. And I think that we are starting to see that picking up in earnest now with the most recent presidential election. And now our presumptive president is like making a lot of, I think, pretty controversial choices for his cabinet that may end up creating some sweeping change, and we're going to talk about that as well. But we are looking at a massive Plutonian transformation between now and 2034. Okay, so we've still got another 10 years of massive shifts. And what kinds of shifts are is our society going to choose to make? I truly don't know, but we can really discuss the flavor of what this is going to look like. So America's natal Pluto is in Capricorn, and Capricorn is an earth sign. It's a very stable sign. It is in charge of government. Okay, so when America was founded, America and like the founding fathers tossed all the previous notions of government out the window, and they just created a whole new kind of government, you know, but they did draw on um, previous iterations of government, like the Greeks and the Romans. You know, they were extremely educated men in the history of their own civilizations and the history of the world. And they used every wisdom that they felt like they had access to create an entirely new form of government. Talk about death and rebirth of governance. That is really what took place with the American Revolution. There was a big, so anytime anything is in Capricorn, there's a focus on finances and money and work, the economy, jobs, employment. And the American Revolution was indeed inspired by what we would consider very minimal taxes today. I mean, we're talking like a 3% tax or something like that, that people just felt like enough is enough. That is way too much. And they're willing to fight to the death over that. But there's a big focus on money, who is entitled to whose money, which is a really Capricorn kind of thing, and a big focus on labor. Who is entitled to somebody else's labor? Which again is very like Capricornian, because taxes in the end are labor. I mean, what it means is that like if you have a 30% tax, as like many of us do today, it means that if you go to work for a week, 30% of your week is spent working for somebody else, you know, like somebody else is getting the labor that you put in. Like if we're working for 5 days, 1.5 of those days goes straight to the government, you know? And so this is something that Capricorn really fixates on. Um, and we have seen that in the founding of the American nation. Capricorn also governs family and housing and like tradition. Remember that Capricorn and Cancer are on the same axis. So Cancer is like the mother and Capricorn is the father, but they both govern the home. The mother is the one making the house into the home, and the father is the one paying for the house. So there's a big focus on family and housing and tradition. One of the big instigating things that inspired the American Revolution was the Quartering Acts of 1765, which made it so that any soldier, like Americans had to let them stay in their house and feed them and take care of them. And so early Americans had to get really upfront and personal with that question: who is allowed in your home? Who is allowed in your land? Who is entitled to sleep in your bed? That is something that they really had to deal with. And we have had all of these things brought up again while Pluto was in Capricorn since 2008, but we have a different flavor now. You know, we live in a different world, but we still get to see some of these same issues being brought to the fore. Um, we kicked off the transit with the housing market crash of 2008, which happened within weeks of Pluto entering Capricorn. Um, Talk about Pluto trimming away what is dead, a bunch of fraudulent stuff happening and like weird stuff going on with the housing market, and Pluto's like, enough is enough. Snip, snip. Massive upheaval, huge death and rebirth of the housing market, and a whole lot of other things. I mean, I know some of you here on this channel, you've met me in real life and told me about the trauma that you experienced from 2008, losing businesses, losing homes, absolutely so destructive, through no fault of your own. Like on a societal level, huge shifts took place that really messed with a lot of things. So we have had, since 2008, big focuses on the housing market. Uh, Obviously, it's been like building over time, but massive focuses on immigration, who is entitled to homes and land, uh, financial transformation, especially with the rise of cryptocurrency, talking about new ways of banking and new ways of assessing value and translating that value into currency. We've seen massive increases in government spending and national debt, both under Obama and under Trump and under Biden for that matter, but huge increases in spending, like the spending that we are seeing now. I mean, We thought it was bad in 2008, but we had no idea how bad it would get, and it's like getting worse. And then we had big revolutionary style wins in government, first with Obama, who, of course, promised a revolution with race relations, that if we just voted for Obama, finally we would be done with the narrative of racism in America. And then Trump ran on these promises of like, if you vote for me, then finally we're going to see a revolution with our economy and with um, making America great again, like how America is seen in the world at large, and putting America first. Both of these were like big revolution, like they were arguing for a revolution of government, and we voted for them both times. And I don't know, this is all like Pluto and Capricorn stuff, absolutely, on both sides of the spectrum. But now we are moving into Aquarius. And while Pluto in Capricorn is the energy of the American Revolution, Pluto in Aquarius is the energy of the French Revolution. And so now we're going to talk about Aquarius and the nature of Aquarius for kind of a long time. Buckle up, but it's going to be interesting because Aquarius is very interesting. One of Aquarius's big focuses is on humanity. And the big question that Aquarius is always asking is, what is a human? During the French Revolution, the big question was, who is a human? Are aristocrats human? Are kings human? Are peasants human? Are artisans human? Are workers human? Who is the real human here? And who gets human rights? And what are human rights? So you had big fixations on human rights. And then who is a human? And, they had big focuses on actually the aristocrats. I think they're subhuman. I think off with their heads. Like, I think the kings are subhuman, off with their heads. A big, huge cry for equality. And I don't think I even wrote this into my presentation here, but there is this massive focus in Aquarius on equality. And of course it can be, discussed in different ways. Again, like equality of opportunity versus equality of outcome. Both of these concepts are going to be really brought to the fore with Aquarius. But in the past, so we had these big revolutionary things. And of course, Mary Wollstonecraft, I hope I said her name right, wrote her big treatise on the rights of women during this time period in the 1780s and 90s. Are women human? These were big questions that were asked in the 1700s. It was more like class and gendered. What is a human and who gets human rights? Now we have way more questions about humanity because to some extent we still have those same questions. Who is human? Are the ultra rich human? Are the homeless human? Are women human? What about unborn children? Are fetal humans human? Are embryo humans humans? What about AI? Is an AI human? Is a company human? I'm thinking of like the legislation that says like companies can function as people with like campaign donations or whatever. Like, is a company human? Is a corporation human? Is an alien human? Both like an immigrant, but also a extraterrestrial. Aquarius deals with aliens. We just had that big UFO hearing like 2 days ago. What is a human? Who gets human rights? What are the human rights? What are humans entitled to? Which humans are entitled to those things? What qualifies a human to be entitled to a human right? How do we enforce those human rights? Who gets to enforce that? These are all questions that we're going to be digging into very, very intensely for the next 19 years. And it all starts like next week. We're going to feel that shift. If you are paying attention, you will feel how as a nation we start shifting into this Aquarian energy, and you're going to feel it lying in the background for the next 19 years. Aquarius is very humanitarian in that it values the good of the whole of society over any one individual. And so this energy can easily justify bad things happening to individuals if it means that good things may happen to the masses. And so I just want to be clear that this happens on all sides of the political spectrum. There's going to be people that with every kind of political sort of thing that are going to say, well, yeah, some people are going to get hurt, but it's worth it for everybody else to have it be better, you know? So I think abortion is going to be like a really hot button topic for the next 19 years. Aquarius is like all about those questions that govern the abortion debate. And so you're going to see the people that say, like, well, the good of abortion outdoes, you know, the loss of human life, or like the stuff that other people think is bad. And then there's going to be the people on the pro-life side that are saying, well, you know, a few people that aren't able to get an abortion is going to be worth it because of the net good to the rest of humanity. Like, both sides are going to both feel that they have figured out what is best for humanity, and they're both okay with the level of human suffering on the other side that will come as a result of their personal view. But there are two different views that both feel equally entitled to calling themselves humanitarians. So that's what I really just want to drive home, is that every single kind of situation, like they're talking right now about like getting rid of the Department of Education, and on both sides of the spectrum, there's going to be people that say, you shouldn't do that. It's so needed. The bad stuff that the DOE does, you know, is outweighed by the good that it does. And then on the other side, people are going to say, no, the bad that it does outweighs the good that it does. Do you see what I'm saying? Both sides are going to feel very humanitarian in all the actions that they're taking. And if they're not very enlightened, they're going to miss the fact that the bad guys in their political um the political narrative that they have bought into also feel like they are the good guys. Like, everybody feels like they are the good guys here. And we're all going to feel like we're all really humanitarian. We all really care about the greater good. How many eggs do we crack for the greater good? And what is really the greater good? Like, it's going to differ person to person, but everybody's individual perspective is going to probably say, like, well, but I'm the most humanitarian there, you know? Aquarius governs the unexpected, especially things like earthquakes, natural disasters, shocking twists and turns of events. I think we're going to see way more natural disasters. We're going to see more big weather events like Milton and Helene. Um, I don't think much of it is actually going to be anthropogenic global warming. I think that I'm going to have a guy on my channel soon, hopefully, if I can get him on. He said he would come on, but we need to like find a good time. He deals with solar cycles, and he argues that the stuff that we're seeing on a weather level and like unexpected weather events and severe weather events have nothing to do with human interactions with nature, but a massive 12,000 year solar cycle that is hitting a maximum at this time that's really going to disrupt everything weather wise. So he's a really interesting guy, a lot of really interesting takes. But either way, whether humans caused it or not, I think we are in for some way big weather events. One thing coming into my mind right now is a reel that I saw of a lady that lives in like the Midwest, and she bought a bunch of life jackets to put in their 72-hour kits, or like she has like a big tote of life jackets now, even though they live nowhere close to water, because she saw what happened with Helene. Houses washing away by surprise in a way that should not be possible, in a place where it should not be possible. I think that really sums up the energy of Aquarius, of Pluto and Aquarius, when it comes to nature and natural disasters. Pluto in Aquarius is the energy of, you better put a life jacket in your 72-hour kit, even if you live in the desert, because maybe a hurricane is going to come that's going to wash your house away, even though you're 300 miles inland. I mean, like, West Coast people, most of my audience is from the West Coast. This would be like a hurricane hitting Disneyland and then flooding out Las Vegas. Okay, like that is how far inland these communities in North Carolina were from the coast. At least that's what I have read. But it's crazy, you know? And I think we need to go into this next 20 years realizing like the space weather has converged to create a time of unprecedented natural disasters that really cannot be anticipated. You know, nobody thought Helene was going to do what it did, even the day before. And that's how we have to go into this, is that like every day we just have to do our best, stay close to God, and trust that God's going to lead us exactly where we need to be at the right time, because we're not going to be able to guess ahead of time what kind of crazy thing is going to happen next. I think we're also going to see some socially surprising events. One thing that I really thought of was terrorism, to be honest. one of the big issues with Aquarius and humanitarianism is going to deal with nationalism, because this idea of like humanity, what's best for humanity. Aquarius governs large groups of people that all are similar to each other and have like united together under a common cause, such as a nation or groups within a nation. And so I think we're going to see big questions about immigration and who gets to live where. And as people become upset about different decisions that are made with immigration, I think that we may see some revenge events that will be very shocking, and that will definitely be in keeping with Pluto in Aquarius. The one thing that we can expect is shocking events that we wouldn't even think about ahead of time. I think we're entering into an era where the black swan concept, black swans are going to be showing up faster and more frequently and more shockingly than they ever have before. And it will be more out in the open because now we have the internet to share our black swan events. So black swan events are, I mean, it's this concept. Nobody thought black swans existed until they saw one, you know, and these are events that no one even would think exist until they happen, and then they're going to happen, and we're going to say, oh my gosh, I never even thought that that was a possibility. I never thought rain could wash my house away in Appalachia, you know, until it happens. And that's the energy that we're heading into. Aquarius is not the guy in charge of religion, but it a little bit is, okay? I would say that Sagittarius deals with like the dogma of religion, the 10 Commandments, the scriptures, like reading the scriptures, and Pisces is like the spiritual connection of religion. But Aquarius deals with out of the box spiritual knowledge, like straight divine insights. And it deals with large groups of people and organizing large groups of people by a common belief system. So in that way, Aquarius kind of is related to religion in like a different way. Aquarius also values spiritual knowledge that benefits humanity. So in that way, it is also religion-y, you know, or can be religion related. But it's especially going to value like spiritual knowledge that benefits humanity and organizes groups of people by their belief system, especially under a common leader, like a singular individual that is going to lead them. Okay, so we have seen this with every past Aquarius transit, Pluto in Aquarius transit. You know, in the 1500s, we had the creation of Protestantism. King Henry breaks from Catholicism and starts a whole new brand of Christianity. During that same time, Catholicism rebranded and reorganized with the Jesuit order, and it created all these different new orders, and it worked really hard to reconnect with the people who had felt lost and unconnected to Catholicism. The previous cycle in the 1000s, we saw Guru Nanak introducing Sikhism and making like Kundalini yoga and Kundalini meditation a widespread thing. Some of our favorite Kundalini meditations originated with Guru Nanak during the Pluto in Aquarius transit of that time. Prior to that, we had Muhammad founding Islam, which obviously totally changed the world and continues to impact the world today in a massive way. So one thing that I think we should really be on the lookout for is new spiritual movements, especially ones that kind of originate, like they're looking at what currently exists and they're saying, this is not right, this is not good enough. You know, we need a new twist on this old take. And we're going to see particular individuals rise up and lead new orders of belief systems that they believe are going to benefit humanity. I think we're going to see some stuff that we have never seen before with this, honestly, just because of the internet. Can you imagine if in like 500 AD, Muhammad had had the internet and he's like, I mean, like talk about taking the world by a storm, or Jesus having the internet, or like Guru Nanak or King Henry. Like every single human being on the whole earth has access to an unlimited megaphone right now. And this, I don't know. I think if Pluto, I wrote it down here. If we thought Pluto and Capricorn brought us influencers, which it did, buckle up, because the role of influencers is about to take off in such a massive way. I think people are going to I mean, the idea of a following and people cultivating a following is going to become so much more intense than we can really like internalize right now, but we're going to see how that plays out, how individuals who are unusually uh charismatic or like whatever, we're just going to see the rise of particular individuals that magnetize masses to them and create massive movements. I think religiously, spiritually, and also just politically. Of course, with I don't know about Guru Nanak and Sikhism, but I mean obviously Islam is both a political system and a religion. And same with Protestantism as designed by King Henry, and Catholicism at the time. Like Catholicism was the religion of kings and it was used to kind of control people to some extent. And same, I mean, King Henry started his own church and he's the king of his church, you know? And so I think that we're going to see kind of flavors of that, of people like creating their new belief systems and kind of leading the charge with their own belief system, whether it's a religion or, I mean, the name coming into my mind right now is like Andrew Tate. I don't know hardly anything about him except I understand that he has like a following, and it's not religious, but like he has like his belief system and like people like follow him. You know what I'm saying? I think we're going to see way more of all of that. And I think it's going to take the world by a storm. Talk about the Antichrist. This is an energy, like I'm talking about like the book of Revelation in the Holy Bible, as we're like keeping an eye out for like the number of the man being 666. The stars are literally aligning for people to separate by belief system and to really idolize individuals that transcend the group. Okay. Aquarius does govern large groups of people. And the 11th house and Aquarius are really into organizing groups of people around shared beliefs about humanity. This is where you look for your larger friend group in your natal chart, your influence with groups of people larger than yourself and like larger than your neighborhood, like whatever's going on in your 11th house, that's where you're going to look for information about that. But while Pluto is in Aquarius, I think we're going to feel a big pull to truly organize with other people that think and feel like we do. However you feel, Pluto in Aquarius is going to encourage you to trim off old relationships that are not working for you because of dissonant beliefs. And it's going to call you to realign with people that share similar beliefs to you. You don't have to do that. I mean, I think we're seeing that a lot in the aftermath of the election. I'm seeing a ton of people that have cut off their relatives and friends who voted in a different way than them. Like, talk about Pluto and Aquarius energy. They are cutting off other humans that they no longer feel are necessarily human, and trying to align and organize with other people that agree with them about humanity. Okay, so as we are doing this, like you may feel a pull to, to cut out people that disagree with you and organize with people that do agree with you. And I'm not going to say that's wrong. I don't know that that is wrong. I think that there's a time and space for every kind of thing, for everything under heaven, like to talk about Ecclesiastes. But I think we're going to see a big increase in that, a big increase in people organizing with similarly minded people. Aquarius can feel so strongly about its own humanitarian mission and about the needs and values of the people that they feel like are their true humans, that it can disregard the humanity of other groups. So we need to keep an eye on this. My biggest concern for like you and me as individuals, like myself as an individual, like as I am entering into this era, I know that this is going to be a susceptibility to kind of dehumanize other groups that disagree with me, And so my job as a human being, as an individual, is to say, okay, we're entering into this era where it's going to be really easy to deny the humanity of dissonance, people that disagree with us. And I maintain my emotional maturity and honor our shared humanity, even if we disagree on key political topics. Can I still treat people that disagree with me as worthwhile humans? Okay, that's going to be one of the big questions that we are all going to have to answer. we need to pay attention to this as we feel our own values emerging in the next 20 years. Because I would bet that all of us watching this over the next 19 years are going to feel a true call to physically relocate, to be physically with other human beings that see the world the way that we see the world. So we just have to understand that where this call is like coming from and be really in tune with our creator as we figure out how to handle that call and what that looks like for us. Aquarius governs technology, especially technology that works through the air. And so talk about Wi-Fi, 5G, internet, more advanced technologies like quantum field technology and frequency tech. We're going to see huge revolutions in technology in the next 20 years, and that's going to be influenced by the call for humanitarianism. Just in these UFO hearings that happened 2 days ago, I did not watch them, but I read a bunch of commentaries about them. And one guy was saying that the things that came out in this congressional hearing about extraterrestrial technology shows that there are ways to access quantum field technologies basically for free. So his big question was, will governments allow free technology to come and like change the entire world, like completely remove the element of supply and demand from energy? Like, what if everyone could power their house for free with ambient energy? This is very disruptive, extremely disruptive. Will governments allow the people to experience this? If technologies are going to be able to come forward, what kind of technologies are we going to have to fight for? And there's going to be a whole lot of questions about, again, humanity, who deserves what is the most humanitarian solution? A lot of big questions about, I mean, I think we're going to see a big bunch of pitting people against each other by class. I'm talking especially about like the ultra zillionaires that have tons of money and they made it by, making sure that they were the guys in charge of all the oil or all of the energy and all this stuff. And it would be the worst thing in the world for them, for everybody to have access to like cheap and ambient electrical energy that they could use to power their homes. So I think we're going to see a bunch of splitting up in every kind of way as different parties decide what kind of technology they want to keep for themselves, what they don't want anybody else to have, other people getting jealous and wanting access to that. And how is it all going to play out? We're just going to have to see. But these are some flavors that I think that we are going to see. Aquarius also deals with aliens of all kinds. Immigration issues are going to be a big talking point for decades to come. And I was talking about like human immigration issues. A lot of discussion about like which humans belong where. Okay, this is like a big question of Aquarius. At the same time, I think we're also going to see a massive upswing and talk about aliens, the extraterrestrial kind. Again, we just had this big congressional hearing about aliens and UFOs. I think we are going to see a ton more of that and tons more information coming out about extraterrestrials and alien technologies and alien beings. We're going to see a lot of that coming out in the next 20 years. That is my prediction. That is my guess. I think that we're going to be shocked at what information comes out over the next 19 years about this kind of thing. And all of this comes back to the issue of authenticity, which is the real underlying motivator of Aquarius. The real goal of Aquarius is not to ruin anybody's life with all of these unexpected events, the natural disasters, the questions about humanity. The real purpose of Aquarius is to call all of us towards greater authenticity. Everything that Aquarius does is motivated to bring us to our highest potential as individuals and as groups of people. Aquarius is always there to help us be confident in our radical uniqueness. So we are invited to step into what makes us authentic and trust that we will be united with other people who feel the same way that we do. The big question is, can we focus every single day on being in alignment with our creator in our views about humanity? So as a side note about that, so I really feel like it is important that every day, you and me, we are getting up and saying, okay, God, like, help me to have clarity of thought. Help me to see the world the way that you see the world, or help me to see the world the way you want me to see the world right now. So this is something that came up in my Facebook group recently, where we were talking about what do you do when somebody else in your life is wrong, and like they're not seeing things the right way, the way that you see them. And the thing that I said in there is just that people are allowed to be wrong. Who are you to say that you're right? We are all wrong most of the time. We are mostly wrong about everything. We have to be okay with that. We have to realize that it's part of God's plan for all of us to be mostly wrong about mostly everything most of the time, and learn how to hold space for ourselves to be wrong, and learn how to hold space for the other people in our lives to be wrong. Um, the people that you care about don't need to agree with you about politics. They don't need to care. They don't need to agree with you about religion. They don't need to agree with you about all these different things. It doesn't mean that they are necessarily as wrong as you think they are. What if being wrong is exactly right for them right now? And what if that is exactly what everybody needs on their life journey? What if you being wrong in the way that you are wrong right now is really important for your life journey? As we put it all together, we're looking at huge transformations in terms of how we treat humanity as a whole. Big questions about what is human, what gets human rights, what are human rights, who gets to enforce human rights. Some big questions that we're going to see play out over the next 20 years. How is humanity going to handle new technologies, natural disasters, aliens, immigration issues, the rise of mega influential influencers, new religions, shocking turns of events, and communication issues? Now, on the way out, when Pluto entered Capricorn, we had the housing market crash of 2008. Will we see similar financial destruction now? I truly don't know. Not every Pluto transit, when Pluto switches signs, not all of them have a massive financial collapse like that. So we're just going to have to see how it plays out. But we can expect that in general, the focus in the past has been on transforming that Capricorn energy that is already here. Like Capricorn deals with what's here, it deals with tradition. You know, Previously, like Obama and Trump, like since 2008, we had Obama, we had Trump, and we had Biden, and um, all of those guys were interested in kind of like reforming and tweaking with the currently existing political system. And now, if you're following what Trump is up to on Twitter and everything, you're seeing that he is working to put together a bunch of stuff that's going to radically transform the system. This is not working within the system to shift it a little bit. It's like burning the system to the ground, shutting down entire political agencies, really making a lot of changes. Sorry, guys, I've been sick and I've talked too much today. But Pluto and Capricorn wanted to reform the currently existing government and finance. Pluto in Aquarius wants to burn it down and start over. Think of like Doge, like the Department of Government Efficiency. So our personal call is to stay close to our creator every day, to work through our personal traumas so that we can see what is going on from as uncluttered a space as possible. We want to work through our personal issues so that we can see a little bit more objectively. So that's my little plug for allieduzetclasses.com, where I teach about that all the time. We need to pay attention to it as groups start polarizing, and we will also feel that call to polarize into these different groups, which I think is possibly okay. Like this is the weather. The weather is it's time to polarize, it's time to pick your group. But our job is to do this while we stay close to our creator, while we stay close to our own intuition, listening to the voice of the Holy Spirit. That is my opinion. We get to look at what's going on from a more objective state because we know what's going on. Everyone around us is going to be feeling this call to polarize, and they won't understand where it's coming from. And you will understand where it's coming from. We are all experiencing the side effects of this space weather, basically. So as we see the rise of like mega influencers, as we see the rise of new spiritual movements and new political movements, I'm sure many of us are going to be pulled into those, but we just have to be really sure that it's the right thing to do. Like we need to be really sure that God is cool with the things that we are choosing to align ourselves with. Again, remembering that maybe we will align for a time with something that is not right in the end, and it's okay. And we still have time to change it over time. Sometimes We are told to do things that in the grand scheme of things, we're going to change over time. Does this make any sense? It's okay for people to be wrong. It's okay for you to be wrong. It's okay for me to be wrong. The important thing is that as we're wrong, we're staying close to God so we can be wrong in exactly the right way for us for that moment. That's what I'm saying. I have a note here that it may be worth checking on your 72-hour kits and general preparedness for unexpected natural disasters. Thinking of that, life jackets in your house when you live in the desert might be worth it. And the big conclusion here is be aware of what's going on. Choose to be happy anyway. Okay, things can go crazy, but your life doesn't have to be crazy as long as you're staying connected with our creator. Focus on what you can control. Focus on taking care of yourself and the people in your stewardship. Uh, Keep an eye on the other things going on. Like, I think it's worth it to be aware of all these energies going on, but the most important thing is staying close to our creator. Um, as long as we stay close to to our own intuition and to our creator, we will be able to receive custom guidance and wisdom for us individually on our own personal journeys so that we can have exactly the experience that we need to experience. So that is my big takeaway from all of this, and what I hope you take away from this. As we head into this time of mega polarizing, and especially the rise of new spiritual movements and new spiritual leaders, and new political leaders, you just stay close to God yourself. Make decisions that you feel like are good with God, and that is going to be the most important thing. As we all realign and repolarize and find our group that we belong with, we need to stay close to our own truth, our own authenticity, and God's truth and God's authenticity, and work together with both of those things to make sure that every single step of the way we're being guided. And as we do that, I think we will be guided, and we're going to see some really big miracles. This is going to be really exciting. Think of the exciting new technologies that could be possible, the exciting new changes that could be possible that have never been possible before. I think we're going to see a lot of new doors opening and a lot of new ways of thinking about the world that are going to be really exciting. And it all starts on November 19th. So anyways, thanks for being here. Come check me out on Facebook, Intuitive Healing with Ali Duzette. I will love to see you there. And I hope this was helpful to you. Have a good day.